This podcast is intended for educational and entertainment purposes only and is not intended to be a substitute for professional, medical, or any other type of advice. Have you found yourself asking, how did I get here in my life? And what happened to the magic and the life that I dreamed of? I have been there, and I was determined to figure out how I got there. I'm Cynthia Fontaine, and I searched in many areas of personal development, consciousness, personality profiles, healing, and more to find the secrets to getting my magic back and living my life on purpose, boldly and authentic. And now I am going to share those secrets with you. Welcome to Boldly Authentic, the podcast. I am super thrilled today and excited because I have my friend, NLP practitioner, law of attraction expert, the incredible Michael Losier with me today. He is the law of attraction author. He's an NLP practitioner. He is 4-time Oprah guest. Nobody's been on Oprah 4 times except for Michael. For those of you who get it on audio, you're going to want to jump over to the YouTube channel and watch it there because Michael is always a ball of fun. I met Michael in Clubhouse, and I am so thrilled to have been able to work with him personally a number of times. I actually took his Law of Attraction course. Law of Attraction
for business owners.
Yes, which was absolutely fabulous. Michael has sold over 4 million copies of the Law of Attraction in 37 languages. Also had his own show on Oprah and Friends Radio. How exciting is that? He lives in Victoria, BC, Canada on the West Coast, which he likes to call Gilligan's Island, which I really think that's wonderful. I'm going to ask Michael a little bit about Gilligan's Island in a moment. But I'm excited to bring this to you because I have found the work that Michael does for me personally, and actually he's worked with my daughter's dog, he's worked with a number of my clients and friends and colleagues, has been so profound that I wanted to bring him to you because I feel like you're going to get a lot of benefit from the show. And then for those of you who want to follow up and work with Michael, you'll have that opportunity as well. So Michael, I want to get into how did you get to where you're at? Where did it all begin? Did you ever think you would be the author of the Law of Attraction and be on Oprah?
Did I ever think it? I talked about it. I talked about it a lot. I remember when I was probably maybe 13 or 14 years old, well before the internet. I'm 61. This is well before the internet. And I remember seeing big glossy magazines and stuff. And I saw a picture of somebody like Tony Robbins. I want to say Leo Buscaglia, but I'm not 100% sure. So he's older school, like old school, right? And he was a motivation. And he was rare. Like, what's he doing? This is rare. Oh. So I remember taking this picture, and they put him he was doing a big phenomenon. This positive guru wave was just starting to approach, and that was probably like in maybe 1970s, and this voice was starting to be heard. And I took the picture off, and I pinned it on my wall, and I put my picture where his was. And I was 14 years old.
Wow.
I was doing a macaroni collage before I knew I was doing macaroni collage, Cynthia. And I put that in, and then people would look at it. And then as I got older, it became unbelievable because everybody said, well, when are you going to go to school and all that other stuff? So I kind of moved away from that dream. And I ended up graduating with a diploma in accounting, administration. It was way far off from being on stage. But what was important, though, I was still getting my needs met doing the other job. But I took the creativity out of it. But something was happening to me the whole time because I was overweight and I grew up by myself. I have a sister 7 years older, one 6 years younger. You don't hang around with those ages when you're set,
No.
So everything on my own. So I was very creative, right? I did a lot of craft stuff and stuff out, the sand garden and all that other stuff. I was my mother's favorite, Cynthia. You can really, my sisters aren't listening. I was the favorite. So, and you know what? I grew up, I was a good Catholic boy and went to church every Sunday, but I was puzzled. How somebody like me that was positive and loving and a good guy, a good boy and a good Catholic and all, why I would be bullied.
Oh.
Why would I be bullied? I don't deserve that. What's going on? Is anybody watching?
Oh.
So because I was overweight. So that was part of the being bullied. And I also got to see a pattern when I was scared to get bullied. Oh, I was right. I would be bullied. I would say, I don't want anybody to bully me at the bus stop. And that would happen. And then every time I said what I didn't want, I would give it attention. And now we know it's called law of attraction. Right. So I'm on the way somewhere, worrying about being bullied. I'm sending the vibration of being bullied. Law of attraction, checking, responding to the vibe of being bullied. Then I get bullied and I say, why is this happening to me? I'm a good guy. That's all I kept saying. I'm a good guy. I'm such a good boy and a good guy. It never made sense to me how a positive person could attract negative things.
Wow.
So I went on to have that experience. And I remember leaving junior high. I was bullied a lot. And then I was going to high school and I thought, am I going to get bullied there too? And then over the summer, I met people that didn't know me from school and I never got bullied with them. I never worried about being bullied. And I saw that pattern. I thought, hey, these guys like hanging out with me and we would do stuff together. And, I really, really close to the beach in the area that I live. So they'd come to my place and meet my mom and she'd cook, all that's, I had a lot of friends, but the vibe when I went to school. So I figured the pattern out is just pay attention to positive people. I remember, 50 years ago, that was an odd subject to bring up. Right. Make a long story short, I kept seeing the relationship. I didn't still get it and understand it. And then I started to learn about that we could attract. Then I took NLP. That's lots. N stands for neuro, the brain. L, linguistics is the words. And the programming is, can I program my mind with words and actions and so on? If I started to learn about that, I was getting excited because it peeked a little bit into law of attraction without using the word. Talked about vibrations. So meanwhile, I'm working for the government at this time out here in British Columbia. And I was kind of like the most positive person in the office. And people came to me, whenever they were coming to me with a problem, I would always say, well, what's the solution? And they were puzzled that would be something to have, people just want to be negative. Anyway, I got to be the really positive guy at the office and so on. So I got to see the influence that I had, and I really liked it. So when I started to talk about, I never called it law of attraction because I didn't know the word. It's hard to describe it when the people are having coincidences and serendipities. I'm going to shorten the story. I get a call from my friend in Vancouver. I live in Victoria. He says, let's meet in Seattle. I want to take you to a seminar tomorrow. I think you'll like it. And I said, well, what's it about? He said, just show up. And I said, is there a website? He says, no. And I said, so you want taking a ferry? I'm going to go to Seattle, meet you there. We're going to go to a seminar that I'm paying for, and you won't tell me anything about it. He said, dude, if you don't like it, by the break, just leave. And I'll meet you at the end of the day and we'll hang out in Seattle. I said, that felt like, it's not my style to do that, but I also wasn't trusting the process, right? So him and I arrive at the hotel and everybody feels like us. I mean, they weren't wearing t-shirts. This is my t-shirt. But I thought, I was hearing the word vibe in the background. And I said to my friend, what is this place? He said, you'll see shortly. And it wasn't the kind where everybody was hugging. It wasn't that huggy kind of connection. Mm-hmm. They were people using the word manifestation. How many times do you think I heard that? Very few. So I'm hearing all these buzzwords and I was getting goosebumps. And to me, goosebumps mean that I'm such in vibrational harmony with what's going on right now that talk about a vibrational, right? My body's vibrating because it's in complete vibrational harmony with what I'm experiencing. So I'm in already. We go to the door, we check in and we sit down. There's nothing. There's not a sign. There's not a workbook. But the room is beautiful and and a lot of people knew each other too. So, we were kind of strangers. And then this woman came up stage and it was Esther Hicks.
Oh.
And she delivered an Abraham presentation. And probably within 45 minutes, certainly before the break, Abraham Hicks, through her, said the most important sentence that changed my life. Well, everything they talk about changed my life. This was the most important sentence. law of attraction responds to your vibration, whether negative or positive.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean? Doesn't it just attract positive things? No, that's why it's called the law. That stunned me. And then I said, and then I backed up and I said, so all those times that I was talking about, and then I was connecting. And what about over the summer? I was meeting all connecting. And what about those times when I'm connecting and I saw, that's why it's called the law. I don't have to explain it to anybody. It's not my law. It's the law. I stayed for the whole day. I was overwhelmed because it changed my life that day. I had goosebump after goosebump. So then I get home to Victoria. I took the ferry home after the next day, and there was no texting, right? So and there was no texting since, yeah. Right. So I rushed home and I called my friend, like NLP friend like you, and I said, Linda, do you want to come to my house this Sunday and meet me? I said, I think I've got some stuff that you're going to love. So her and I start to talk about what I learned. It resonated with her as well. And it's her and I that developed all the worksheets in my book and the processes. So we understood what we knew about NLP. And at one time she said, well, that's just reframing, the clarity through contrast. That's just reframing. And I said, yeah, it's a little bit jargony. Let's call it clarity through contrast. So we developed everything together because NLP teaches you to talk to all the styles, right? The visual, the kinesthetic, the thinker, the auditory. So my book is loved by all the groups because it can really do it. So there's her and I. And then people around us, you know what they're saying? And people say even today, they say, oh, I love how you said that. Mm-hmm. Oh, I love the way you worded that. Oh, can you word that for... And now people are not paying me, but they're exchanging me for the way I word stuff, like their goals and their dreams or whatever. So people around us say, what are you guys doing? What are you doing? I said, well, Linda and I are talking about law of attraction. And, oh, really? Where? So that went on for a long time. We were having lots of people coming. And you know what? When it was Linda and I, we can have a cup of coffee and not, but when you have a lot of people, I think 44 people was a room full at one time. Mm-hmm. You got to have structure, right? You got to be the leader. You just can't have them walking around your house. It's like, okay, everybody. And what I learned probably after having 20 meetings like that, the answer to every one of their questions is always the same.
Really?
And the answer is, you get what you vibrate.
Oh, of course.
But hey, listen, Cynthia, it'd be a pretty cheeky seminar, right? Oh, my life's wrong, but you get what you vibrate. Next. You don't have any money, you get what it wouldn't be a fun seminar to blame everybody. You get what you vibrate. But so as I'm hearing it, Michael, you know this about me, I'm good at taking complicated information and making it easier. So I'm hearing people having these conversations, and I'm developing processes, and I'm developing scripts. And then I started to do teleclasses through, the conference call. Sure. And I was getting 200 and 300 people on Thursday night. I'd be running home from my government job to get on this bridge line, old school phone where you had to have a thing to hold it. It was a long time ago. It was 25 years ago. Wow. And marketing companies and those direct sales, they would have me come in as a guest. I'm still working for the government, but I'm working on this. And the very first thing that I did with my book was the cover. And the cover was ready 2 years before I even took it to the printer. So now I'm on these large conference calls, and I had a website, still have it, lawofattractionbook.com. And you know what was on it? Nothing, except the book. And a place that said, if you want to be notified when the book's ready, let me know. So, I know what brought them there, because I would do a presentation, and I said, my hunch is you've been taking a lot of notes, right? And I said, well, I got all the class notes ready. Go to a Law of Attraction book, and guess what? Everybody wanted the notes because they were stunned. Make a long story short, about a year's worth, I collected 5,000 names. I got a note from the printer. It was cash on delivery. In other words, we're delivering them on Wednesday. You owe us this much money, right? Yeah. I knew that. And I had a blank credit card just for that transaction. Mm-hmm. Still working for the government, remember, so I'm not loaded in monies. But I knew at the end of the day I'd be able to pay it off. Right. So I said, okay, they're going to arrive Wednesday. So I think I found out on Friday. So I'm going to send an email on the weekend to everybody. We'll see how many bounce to remember, right? So on Sunday night, I sent the email, and my book was $21.95. You know why I got away with it? It was the only book in the world that had the word Law of Attraction in it. Oh. So It is rare. And then, of course, it's like a chicken cookbook. You can't get $20, $30. Why? Because there's hundreds of chicken cookbooks. The more rare. Another little quick sidebar. Do you ever wonder why it's this thin?
Why, Michael?
Because it fits in the envelope that fits inside a slot so it doesn't get the second level of rates on a book. Because where do I live? Gilligan's Island. Everything was expensive. So I went to the post office and said, how thick can a book be before it doesn't fit in the slot? They told me. I went to the bookstore, and this is how thick a book can be. So it fit in an envelope, and I was sending this like the cheapest way possible. That's why it's this thick.
Wow. And it's never changed.
There's changes coming. Next year, I put 5 new chapters in it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and one of them wouldn't have been relevant 20 years ago. I just celebrated 20-year anniversary.
Oh, congratulations.
And here's what wouldn't have made sense. You know what it's called? How social media is affecting your vibrational bubble.
That is so needed. Oh, my goodness, right. So needed.
Yeah. Imagine reading the word social media 20 years ago.
Yeah, no one would have known what it was.
Yeah, what's he talking about? Okay, so now since the people were faxing me their results.
Faxing?
Hey, Michael, yeah, that thing you said, I wrote it down, and look at they were showing me their list of what they want to track, and so they were faxing me results and emailing me. We had email, and they'd come to the meeting. Most of the future meetings were just about results. They weren't about teaching anymore. And I thought, I don't have to teach. I just need to facilitate processes, right? I was kind of running out of stuff because I've been teaching them, but they were filling up all the time with their results. Okay, a little bit fast forward. The second most important person in this process. The first was Abraham Hicks saying that the law is negative or positive. That developed all my consciousness and mindset. And the second one was working for the government. I'm on Gilligan's Island. If you're here at 6 o'clock, you're probably not leaving, right? For ferries and everything.
Oh.
So there was a speaker at the end of the day in the Victoria that the government hired. Victoria is the number 2 tourist destination in Canada. So it revolves around tourists. Everything is all about tourists. So I said, hey, do you want me to show you around? He said, oh, I'd love that. So on my walk, I said, so he knew that I was positive. And I was talking about law. I was using the word law of attraction. It was new to him. But like most people, they knew the experience, right? So I didn't know that was called that. What do they call it? Serendipity, coincidence, fate, karma, meant to be. We've been using those words to describe evidence. But he goes, you know your subject. And I said, well, I'd really love to be on stage. And here's the second question. And here's the most important sentence he told me. If you had a book, you could speak anywhere. Well, Cynthia, you don't have to poke me twice. Once he said that, I was so tuned out because I thought, I have a book in that big box in my office, 8 inches, faxes, thank you cards, examples, stories. So I thought, I got a book. And I also knew that I had a process. And with all due respect, this isn't chicken soup for law of attraction, which is good, but it's just stories.
Right.
This is the how-to guide. So my hunch, you've read yours more than once, or you peeked at it more than once.
Oh, yeah,
right?
definitely.
It's like a guide. It's a how-to guide.
Definitely.
So I'm going back to the email. So I sent the email telling everybody the book was ready. And I woke up Monday morning, and this is the time where you didn't leave your computers on. Can you imagine that?
Oh, my goodness.
Yes.
I remember those days where you turned it off when you were finished for the day.
Warnings. Don't leave your burn out the screen.
Right.
Yeah. So I get up Monday morning, and I turn on my computer, and I thought I had a virus. You got a new cell. You got a new cell. You got a new cell. So what is that? 8:21, 8:22, 8:22:21, 8:22:22, 8 a.m. And it was on and on. Make a long story short, I sold every copy within 3 days.
Wow.
At $21.95.
Wow.
So I thought, so before that, that Monday, that was like, I called, and I wasn't working for the government by then. So I had time off. And when I knew they were coming in Friday, I went to my calendar and said, I don't know what kind of job it is, if I have to unload them or whatever it is. So they all shipped inside my apartment. I lived in an apartment and 5,000 books on my kitchen floor.
5,000.
So I had a party. I invited my friends over. I bought thousands of dollars worth of envelopes and stamps and Okay, who's this book for? Oh, this is Cynthia Fontaine. Sign it next. Somebody would put a tissue paper around it, put it in an envelope. Somebody would put the label, and we just one after another.
Wow.
And it was a big list. And then once everybody got their book on the email list, it went silent. And I thought, okay, there's two problems here. I have no more books, and I want it to be, I don't have books. Honestly, it never dawned on me that I have to print more books. I thought, I sold all my books. And it was 3 days silent. And then on day 4, here's the subject line. How much is the 10-pack?
Wow.
10-pack? 10-pack? How much is a box of books? What discount can you give me if I buy 300?
Wow.
You, Michael Losier, you're not in the speaker business right now. You're in the book business.
Wow.
Yeah. So I told everybody the story. I called the printer, and everything was on file. And, it's not a day. It's, 2 or 3 weeks out. So that was the story about that. And then I got invited, and then everything blew up. So I sold 250,000 books just by being, wait for it, a professional guest.
Wow.
Radio, there wasn't things like this, but people would film videos with me. That was the days of talk radio, Mm-hmm. I remember being on Gary Null. Do you know who Gary Null is?
Yes.
One time he had me on the show, and he said, just stop right there. I couldn't see him. Stop right there. For the first time in my history, I'm giving you the show. Go ahead, Michael, you're on the air.
Wow.
Gary Null, and everything blew up after that.
Wow.
My whole career in Victoria, and I'm answering all your questions that you've asked earlier, I'm just weaving them in.
Yes.
My whole time in Victoria, on Gilligan's Island, a smaller island, but I had a lot of super fans. Why? Because this was not something that was talked about. And we had a few spiritual centers, and I would go in and be a guest there. So now I've got 3 different spiritual centers knowing my name. So I would do something, and people come up, a lot of people to support me. They just wanted to be around me and the vibe. They didn't have to leave Victoria. You know what a benefit that is, to be able to drive close.
Yeah.
Every time I did a seminar, and I would raise my hand and do this. Say yes if Oprah's going to love me.
I love that.
This was 20 years ago. And they would say yes. And I said, Oprah, are you listening?
Wow.
I referred to Oprah many, many times. I never once said, though, I wanted to be on the Oprah show. Because in the back of my mind, I was too overweight to be sitting on a chair. I had that total distraction. Yeah. So I was very careful about my goal was. I said, hello, Oprah. I'd love to have a chit chat with you. Say Oprah's going to love our fireside chat over the phone. And I was always careful to say over the phone. And nobody ever asked me about that. Well, why don't you want to be on TV? And then later I was, very vulnerable with everything. So, you know what? I was too fat. And I didn't want that to be a distraction. And I know the first time I saw Deepak Chopra, I had a judgment about because of his body size. And I thought, so I know that, and he wasn't even big at the time. So that kind of stuff, I wouldn't want to get in the way. So it was like, say yes if Oprah's going to love our phone call. Oh, you bet she is. I did it hundreds of times, and I got responses, and people would come up and say, I can't wait to see you on Oprah, even though I never said that. Mm-hmm. So my book's doing pretty well. It was out, I published in 2003. It was out for 2 or 3 years. I sold over 250,000 copies on my own. I was a superstar on talk radio, even though I'm not letting you talk very much. But, they would just stop talking on talk radio and let me go on. And after an interview, I would sell tons of books. And then The Secret came out in 2006. Mm-hmm. And The Secret, I was asked to be in it twice and turned down the offer, just so you know that. So The Secret came out, and everybody kept talking. Have you heard about The Secret? It's like law of attraction. It's like law of attraction. Mm-hmm. So I resisted it at first, and I knew because I thought, I was asked to be in that, and I turned it down. And then I thought, you made a big mistake. Mm-hmm. You're trying to grow the business, and somebody came in better and bigger, mm-hmm. and it's spilling all over the world. Mm-hmm. But what am I going to do? Well, The Secret was very inspirational.
Yes.
And I'm saying this publicly, but it wasn't educational.
Yes.
So my book is the how-to book.
Yes.
The people that were reading The Secret, they were showing lots of examples, and people were relating to it. That happened to me when I found money. Like everybody was doing this because somebody was talking our language.
Right.
But when it came to use it, it was more than affirmations and so on.
Right.
So The Secret came out. That was in 2006. 3 years later, so my book did really well because of The Secret, because there was no book called Law of Attraction. And even though The Secret didn't, I think it mentioned it on the video somewhere, people were typing in Law of Attraction. So thank you, Google, and the keywords. I didn't pay for that. It was just people searching. So Oprah has the people from The Secret on, 4 of them on bar stools. And I'm saying it publicly because it's my opinion. All 4 of them were kind of contradicting each other.
Oh, that's interesting.
Two of them were saying, well, in my process and in my book, and I thought, oh, are you going to let that go on? I was really surprised. I was honestly surprised the show got aired.
Wow.
Because it felt like 4 infomercials. It was awkward, and with all due respect, it wasn't done well, except it really helped me. So I saw the show. So I'm traveling to Phoenix. Now I have a BlackBerry. With my sister, who was my sister. We've got BlackBerries. The BlackBerry 2000. Oh, we were some show offy about that. So I get off the airplane. My BlackBerry says, "You've got a message." And my sister, I'll call her my sister because she's my sister, but she was my assistant. I don't have a team. She said, "Guess who called?" Now I warned my sister years ago because one time she says, "Guess who called?" And I said, "Oh my God, who?" She said, "Mom." I said, "Mom never counts. When you ask me, guess who called? It can't be Mom. It's got to be somebody bigger than Mom, with all due respect."
Right.
You can only use that once in our entire working relationship. You can only use guess who called.
Oh.
So I get off the airplane and the message said, "Guess who called?" And you know what I wrote back? "You know the rule. Don't F with me." And she says, "Oh, yes, I just mailed them a book."
Wow.
So I get off the phone. So my sister, this is right after the Oprah had The Secret people on, my sister gets an email from one of the producers at the email and said, "Hey, we're doing our research on Law of Attraction." And what they said was, what they didn't say, "We had them on last week. It's a disaster. We need to fix it."
Right.
That's Michael Losier. Listen, no one said that. That's my interpretation. And they said, we're asking people, and everybody says, Michael Losier's book, Michael Losier's book. And of course, where do I live? Gilligan's Island. And where's my book? It's on Gilligan's Island, right? So she said, "Can you send us a book?" And, we're doing our research. So Diane sent a book to Chicago. And then, so that was Monday. And then on Tuesday morning, I wake up and Diane says, she texts me, "Cynthia, I'm going to let you fill in the blank. What does the second text from my sister say?"
You're going to be...
Guess who called?
Oh, another guess who called.
I said, "Are you effing with me?" She said, "No, guess who called?" So she said, "I got a call from another producer today that's working on the Law of Attraction, whatever they call it, project or, research."
Right.
And she didn't really let on that, Betty's asked for a book too, and I guess they want a book. So I'm sending her a book right away. I need to tell you, it's $70 to send a book same day from Gilligan's Island to Chicago.
Wow.
Didn't matter. This was the jackpot.
Right.
So now there's 2 producers at the Oprah show that have my book. Oh, no, there's not, Michael Losier, because Wednesday, my sister sends me another guess who called. At the end of the week, we had 3 different producers ask for the book. We sent them the books. They didn't know. Then they have their Friday meeting, and guess what they all come to the meeting with? My book.
I love that.
And they love it. No one said that. I said that. So they love the book.
Wow.
And then the head person called and apologized for having to send 3 books. And he said, so we end up, I want to say they bought a box of books. If I remember, they wouldn't take it. So I had a secret squirrely connection at the radio station.
Oh.
And she texted me twice in my career. Once was, "Your book is in Oprah's purse."
Wow.
Can you imagine that on Instagram?
Wow.
My book hanging out of Oprah's bag.
Wow.
And then remember, so there was not, so they all had my book, and then I got the second note from this person that said, "You're being hired." I almost want to say that was the end of my connection, and I never knew it was.
Wow.
I also had somebody that lived in this province that said, "I'm not supposed to tell," because they did a lot of research. Oprah doesn't take on a 4-time guest without making sure there was nothing dirty going on.
Sure.
So this was we were just interviewed by somebody, boom, 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 and they are looking for some dirt, respectfully. And I told them, you will not find anybody who has the most integrity. So just because they went on the internet and everything was praise, and so
wow.
So I'm going to speed up my story. So after the books, we sent the book, then Oprah got the book and it's reading it. I'm the buzz of the office. I'm the buzz of the office because the week before, the show didn't really educate people with law of attraction. It's again success stories. I'm a trainer. I'm not telling success stories. I'm training, right? Do this, say this. You know my style, right?
Yes.
Here's a worksheet. Say this, do this, draw the line across. So then we got the call and said Oprah wants to interview Michael on her radio show called the Soul Series. And I had to go to Vancouver because it was on satellite radio. And where do I live? Gilligan's Island, and they didn't have a satellite radio. I'm loving it. I'll never leave. There were some challenges living here. So, and Oprah's office paid for everything. So I flew from Victoria to Vancouver on a float plane. It was a 15-minute ride. That's how close. It's 4 hours by ferry and car. But downtown Victoria, my assistant came with me, Sandy's her name. We went in the studio, and lots of people were there. Like the staff stayed. They did a shift. I think the interview was like 3, but people stayed because Oprah was going to be on in their airways, right?
Right.
So I got there and Sandy and I get in, and I remember it was really cold. It was March, so it wasn't snowy there, but I had a big jacket and everything. We got settled, and Oprah doesn't want to talk to anybody before the interview. So I get a knock on the glass, and I have headphones on. The producer said, Oprah's queued up to start the interview, and a confirmation about my name pronunciation multiple times. So, but
thank you. I'm glad I'm not the only one. I'm in good company with Oprah.
Company, so, and she nailed it. Of course, she's an expert interviewer. So it was all being recorded. So it was recorded live to tape. So there was no editing being asked. So that's what they said. You're just going to go through the straight interview. Right. If you need to correct something, just say it again, and we're going to be editing it. And I knew that too. Sure. A couple times, Oprah stopped something for something else, so I knew they were editing it. So we went live, and I heard the jingle music, the show jingle music. And she said, I have a treat for you today. So, and honestly, I knew it sounded like Oprah, but I don't get starstruck. It's like, this is it. Am I doing what I raised my hand about 1,000 times to do? Mm-hmm. I didn't know it would be in the studio I thought it would be on the telephone. So I had a 25-minute interview. Now, here's what I know about radio hosts. And before that, I was doing lots of talk radio. Remember, I was the talk radio host, expert. Mm-hmm. So I learned the rule, and the rule is sound bites.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And pauses.
Yes.
Sound bites and pauses.
Yes.
And of course, who's the queen? Oprah's the queen of soundbite, pauses, and cliffhangers. Mm-hmm. So when I went on to host my own show there, her producer taught me how to do a cliffhanger. Stay tuned with these, Cynthia, because after the break, I'm going to tell you the 3 words that you should stop using. That's an Oprah cliffhanger.
I love that.
Come on, I'm hanging off the cliff. So the music starts, and we have an interview, and she was super. I have all the recordings. I can't quote from them other than they're out there and how much she loves my book and everything. Mm-hmm. So the interview finished, and she was thrilled. And just like all radio, we were done.
Wow.
I thought, oh, my God, it happened. We were thrilled. And the people on the other side Sandy was with me in the studio, and they were applauding. It's like, I nailed it. I mean, I had Oprah's attention for a half hour on the phone. Are you kidding me? So we were thrilled. So I put my puffy jacket on, and I had a knapsack because I flew from Vancouver, and I brought some books and stuff with me, zipped it up, and I put my little toque on. That's a Canadian hat. Uh-huh. I was pretty toasty. And then there's a knock on the glass. And the guy said, so I thought, oh, you know what? Oprah's come back to say, that was great.
Yeah.
So I'm fully dressed, zipped up, knapsack on, a little beanie on. Uh-huh. I put the headphones on, and you know what I hear? I hear the jingle music.
Oh.
And here's what I hear. You loved him last week. We brought him back again for his second interview. Michael Losier, welcome back to Oprah's Soul Series. I'm thinking, so my assistant that had every task in the world, we're good friends. She never thought she'd be in charge of wiping sweat off of my forehead while I'm being interviewed by Oprah Winfrey. I couldn't, what do you do? How do you rattle? I couldn't even take the hat off without any disturbance.
Wow.
And nobody on the other side knew that they couldn't prep me. Oh my God, I sweated so much. What's supposed to be a 25-minute interview turned into 4 of them. So I did the 2 interviews in Vancouver. They went awesome.
Mm-hmm.
The next week I was going to Australia. I went to Australia for a month. And my sister, what a pain in the you-know-what she is at this point. You know what she texted me this time? And I'm in Australia. She said, Oprah wants to interview you again.
Wow.
And she said, she thinks that you could do a Q&A real easily. What do you think about that, Cynthia?
Wow. I think I'm blown away just hearing it, knowing that it's happened.
It's my sweet spot.
Wow.
So she said, we're going to get live callers, right? So my sister accepted. So I got a note from the producer. We had to go to we didn't have to go. We chose to go. We wanted to go to a radio station in Melbourne at 3 a.m. for the interview because of all the time change.
Sure.
And every staff member came, just like Vancouver. Oprah was going to be on their airways. They made a huge deal about it. You know, Canadian author gets interviewed by Oprah in Melbourne office. It was so fun.
Wow.
So I get to the first two interviews. They're producing them. They're adding. They haven't aired them yet, right? So Oprah, she said, "Well, the first time I didn't say this earlier. When I was doing my seminars, Dr. Phil was Dr. Phil Tuesday. And I said, say yes if I should be Michael Mondays. And everybody, we love the Michael Mondays. You know, that's the theme.
Uh-huh.
So they produced the 2, and now we're on the 3rd one, and we're taking callers in. We're taking callers, and she said, do you want to hear the question first? And I thought, if you were ever going to fluff your feathers in front of anybody, it's better be right now. And remember, I've been doing interviews for 5 years. I had my own radio show in Voice America. I could nail anything. I thought I couldn't have done this any better or any earlier as well as I did. Yeah. So I said, no. And Oprah's picking up my book, and she's quoting from it. Really?
Wow.
I like the clarity through contrast. So I was taking callers, and remember, you know what I learned in doing the sessions in my house? Every answer is the same. So as people were telling me about, oh, you know what, I'm having boyfriend problems, this kind of problem, my job was to back up, to find out what were they doing that caused them to send the negative vibe. I nailed one after another, and I'm hearing in my ear somebody say, Oprah, even though we weren't live, they sent an email out on the platform, said, Oprah, we could do this all day. So I heard someone say that, and for the producers and the technical staff, you know, when I'm on a radio interview, sometimes the techie guy comes in and he said, dude, I usually don't listen. That was good.
That's
when
great.
The technical staff tell you they were listening, like without their sound ears on. So after the interview in Australia, I took on maybe 10 or 15 callers. We were done. And I got an applause from the team. And then I got it again. What do you think I got? A knock on the glass.
Yeah.
And what did he say? Oh, this time, well, of course, I didn't have all those clothes.
You didn't have your Parker on.
I didn't have a Parker on. But you know what I said to myself? Michael Losier, this is your 4th interview with Oprah.
Yeah.
I knew it wasn't. Michael, I want to thank you.
Yeah.
And then I picked up the phone and I put the headset on, and then I heard the what say when you love it. The jingle music.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, this is our 4th interview with Michael Losier, and she praised me. And I nailed everything. And, you know, I never listened to them once.
Really?
Never went back and listened to them once. I remember the full experience.
Yeah.
I remember what it was like. I remember I came back to Victoria, and I had an Oprah radio interview at a restaurant, and all my friends came, and we had a big Oprah face with the microphone beside it. And please, Cynthia, you know me. I'm happier than a peacock in a Santa suit. You'll know about it. So then I got the 4 interviews with Oprah, and then they aired. Remember I said I wanted to be Michael Monday?
Yes.
Oh, I was more than Michael Monday.
Yeah.
I was on 1 interview for the week.
Mm-hmm.
I was on every day, 4 times. I was Michael Monday, Michael Tuesday, Michael Wednesday. I was on 7 days a week, 4 times.
Wow.
And my book went to number 3 on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
The book ahead of me was The Secret, and the number 1 book was Harry Potter.
Wow.
You know, so then everything's blowing up. My emails, my book sales.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was week 2, Michael Losier. And then week 3, In week 2, my sister did it again. Tell me what she said. Oprah called. But just give Oprah my number. You know, when I say Oprah called, it's not her, it's her team, right?
Right.
Oprah's office called.
Right.
Oprah wants you to be one of the hosts on her XM radio series called Oprah and Friends. Now, for those of you that are listening in, I'm going to tell you who's in this picture. Remember, I'm a self-published author from Gilligan's Island. I think I can remember. Well, first there's Maya Angelou. There's Dr. Oz. There's Reverend Shmuley. There is Oprah. There's Maya Angelou. There is the Peets. There is the Clutter Guy. There's Marianne Williamson and Michael Losier from Gilligan's Island.
Wow.
Are you kidding me, Cynthia?
Wow.
Yeah. And I would go to Chicago for 6 months. The first 6 months I'd go to Chicago and record a whole month of shows. And it was just like royalty being there. The staff loved me and they'd all stand behind the booth. And it was so, thank you so much, Oprah. It was a great experience.
Wow. Wow. That's incredible. What a story from this 14-year-old kid to having your own show on Oprah.
Yes.
You know, all because you were bullied.
Yes, and I got
That's
clarity, and then that clarity. And then once I learned how to be not bullied or not reject, once I learned that we could limit what were the negative things, I'm such a teacher, I could not. I could not want to teach everybody. So that's why I'm a trainer. That's why I've been doing seminars. You know, I've traveled to 17 countries, and in my Southeast Asia, I'm having 2,500 people come to seminars, and I'm influencing every one of them. It's the most pleasing job in the whole world.
Wow, that's fabulous. That's really fabulous. And you know, it's interesting because you started learning law of attraction with Esther Hicks and Abraham, and Esther was in the first secret book, but then pulled out of it because it was only stories and it wasn't giving people the tools to learn how to actually use the law of attraction.
I remember all that times, and you know. And I was always surprised that they didn't feel that during the conversation, because I did when I was asked twice. You know, one of the most important parts of my book is the allowing.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
You can have it, and I won't own it anymore. It's like not so much. And back then, I was being taken advantage of by people. I was coming in and doing free trainings, and if they weren't taking advantage of me, I offered to do it. So everybody felt like everybody was being opportunistic. And I didn't know about the secret. I didn't know who she was, with all respect. I just heard someone else says, "We want your stuff, and you're not going to get paid for it. You need to come to Los Angeles for 7 days and fly down and get your own hotel, and you're not going to get paid." Oh, where do I sign up again?
Wow.
So, yeah. But it did well. And I tell you,
I can relate to that.
If the secret never was famous, people wouldn't have need to know how to apply. So the secret was awesome. It spilled it over like nobody could.
Right.
And what left in the wake was, how do I apply it? Now, here's a secret about my book. I'm not a writer. This is not a storybook. I'm in it. That's it. That's all about me. This is not about me. Wow. My picture's not on the front. It's not about me. It's about the process. And if you look, look, there's worksheets, there's examples.
Yes.
This is my seminar. I did hundreds of times that I turned into a book.
Wow.
Matter of fact, this is a seminar that I did hundreds of times that I turned into a book.
Wow.
And this is a seminar that I did 100 times that I turned into a book.
Wow.
Notice the size. They're always the same size.
Can fit this.
And they all have the same model. They have worksheets and characters and examples and graphics and checkoff lists that satisfy all the learning styles.
Wow, that's incredible.
What I told you today, I don't know that I told all of that 3 times in my entire career. So you got the most intimate of me. Most people want me to teach law of attraction. So this was nice. It was nice to tell the story. Yeah, and I did a good job by telling you all the juicy parts. Say yes.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you so much.
How secret squirrely was today's interview?
It was super secret squirrely. Oh my goodness. I love this because we've known each other for a while now, and I've never heard many parts of your story. And so thank you so much for being so vulnerable and sharing all that. I like to know about people, and then what do you do? How do you do? Because everybody hears that when you're out in Clubhouse, which, we'll talk about Clubhouse a little bit as well. People know you're the law of attraction guy, right?
Yes.
They see the processes, but I like to show who you are. How did you get where you are? How did you want to be there? And then how did you get there so that listeners can then say, oh, maybe I can do this too.
I just want to tell us what we're talking about. Being vulnerable. Being vulnerable to me is intimacy.
Yes.
Excuse me. And intimacy, in my book, Your Life Purpose, I talk about getting your needs met so you can live your life purpose. And then there's a list. Well, one of my third, there's 4 in total out of that fit me. And mine is intimacy, which means intimacy. Me,
yes.
see.
Yes.
So you know what we didn't talk about today? Sports, cars, and weather. Because I don't play that game. Like, that's not intimate. Intimate means tell me you tell me about your goals and success and challenges, and that's intimate conversation. Yes. That fires me up.
Yeah, I love that so much because that fires me up as well.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate you sharing those intimate stories because I feel like that it's important for people to know where people have come from because people see just where you are now, your success, and then some people go, oh, how do I ever get that? For people who want to, maybe be authors, want to be teachers, want to be speakers, maybe want to be on Oprah someday. I really appreciate you sharing all that. Yeah.
I think what's important is to focus on the way you want to feel about the experience. That's why when, it wasn't about, I ever wanted to be, I wouldn't want to walk around town and have the vision that, like Bob Proctor and the other, I'm including myself, other well-known law of attraction authors.
Yes.
I wouldn't want that. So I loved where I was, and I did that on purpose. Like, it was all calculated. So
beautiful.
I appreciated our time together. We are certainly on the same vibe.
Yes.
And, that's why I was able to just tell my story and be free and give you lots of space to do that.
Yeah, thank you so much. And again, I really appreciate you doing that. So, Michael, I would love for you to tell people how to find you. What's the best way to get in touch with you? Get your book, I know, is on Amazon. I'll have the links in the show notes as well.
Yeah. If you go to hangoutwithmichael.com, it'll take you there, or michaellosier.com. And when you get there, you'll see all of my book covers. If you click on the Law of Connection book, Your Life Purpose, you can download this for free, right? If you're more interested in some NLP learning styles, take the assessment, find out your style for free and learn some words. And if you're interested in how to apply Law of Attraction, there's a free course there with the workbook that'll change your life. Free, and free.
You can't beat that. What's better than free?
Free and delivered.
Free and delivered. And now with Amazon, it's a lot easier than shipping them from Gilligan's Island.
Yeah. I stopped selling my books right after that.
Yeah.
That big, and I ended up hiring a young mom in my neighborhood that she went for a walk every day. Uh-huh. And when she heard my dilemma, she said, well, I want to buy the post office every day. So I ended up paying her per book, because I would get sometimes maybe 25 orders.
Wow.
And she'd stuff them in all the supplies, and she'd take the baby and she'd post them, and she got paid well for those. I think it was like $2 a book. So Perfect. She was making like $100 a day and taking the baby she had to do the work, but this was her income. She loved it. She was really good.
Right. Wow, that's beautiful. And you were helping her.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really great. That's really, really great. Michael, again, thank you so much. We are about at time. I really appreciate you being on, and I love playing with you in Clubhouse and hanging out there. So if you are not on Clubhouse, download the app because you can actually get on there, talk to Michael, have a session with him, and it's phenomenal. You don't know what you're missing. So go download that app, get on there, see when Michael is on, and take the opportunity to be able to work with this 4-time Oprah interviewee, a show on Oprah. I mean, come on, people. It's a no-brainer. Where do you get an opportunity like this?
Thank you, Cynthia. I appreciate that.
Thank you so much, Michael. And I'll see you in Clubhouse.
You will. Look forward to that.
Awesome. Thank you.
This podcast was produced by Alchemy of the Earth Inc. at cynthiafontaine.com. Producer Elise Spizak. Media Relations LJ Rank. director Ryan Fontaine, and sound engineer David Breton. Please subscribe to patreon.com/boldlyauthentic for exclusive membership bonuses.